This is the Women of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today I'm going to blow your mind away in terms of understanding female nature. There's so many different things that I can say in this video. You guys are part of something special. This is the beginning of understanding female nature for the world. The world has not understood this before now, okay? And we're bringing this to the people so that we can create a blissful planet where relationships function, where families work, where people are able to connect and keep that connection long term. This is what this channel is for, to help everyone to receive blissful happiness from their relationships. So let's get started. First of all, you've got to understand that on this channel, we do not ever blame women. It is not their fault. It is not once ever their fault. On this channel, men take the blame every single time. It is our fault. Now, is it specifically my fault? In my head, as a man, I need to believe that everything in the world is my fault. Why? Because then I can take personal responsibility over time to make sure that everyone is happy eventually. If I blame, the moment I blame someone else or something else for my problems, and someone else's problem is my problem, by the way, because that's in my environment very often. The moment I blame someone else, I have now taken away my power to do something about it. And I never ever want to take away my power. Ever. Why? Because I want to be masculine. I want to be powerful. Power is the ability to do. Me as a man, if I give that power away, if I blame someone else, I now do not have power anymore. So you can know for a fact that you are with a masculine man or that someone is masculine if they take the blame. Right? And I'll talk more about that in the future. But for now, we don't blame women nonsoever. Women, if they're given the correct environment in order for them to thrive and grow and enjoy themselves and be unburdened and carefree and not have to worry about anything, women will be angels. Women are natural angels. Okay, and I believe that with all of my heart. Yes, women do some crazy stuff, okay? But it's not their fault. It originated somewhere, and it created the environment, and unless they're given someone who unburdens them, or they have someone in their life who completely unburdens them, they will remain in that environment because of what has happened to them in the past. Men have a small edge over women when it comes to discipline and focus because of their 10 to 12 times more testosterone than women. There's a reason why men have that, but we're not going to talk about that today. Today, we're focusing on why women are bitches to each other, okay? Because if you know as a woman that women have sometimes, or a lot of times, a hard time getting along. And when something happens between you guys, then you go around thinking about it for a very, very long time until something else happens very often. Okay? And we're going to figure that out today. Why? Why does that happen? What is the science behind it? And is there something that you can do in order for you not to be bitchy to other women? Hopefully, we're going to get there. So let's first start with the definitions of masculinity and femininity, because on this channel and on the Men of High Value channel, we define things completely differently than the rest of the world. When you think masculine, you think in terms of, masculine energy or a man being really buff and, serious and all that stuff. Oh, that's masculine. Really attractive guy, blah, blah, blah. You got to understand masculinity from the way I understand masculinity. And masculinity really truly is all about responsibility. Okay? Responsibility and consistency in achieving a specific goal. in order for you to get exponential growth in anything, there needs to be consistency, right? Boring, mundane activities performed daily over a long period of time, and then eventually there's an exponential growth curve. That's masculinity. It's boring, it's mundane, it has no life, and in many ways, why are we even doing that? Trust me, there's a reason why men are masculine and are supposed to be masculine, because they will get rewarded for it when they are masculine. Women, not so much. Actually, the universe has created women in such a way that the more masculine they are, the more their life sucks. Men, the more masculine they are, the more their life is amazing. Okay? Everything just simply works if men are masculine. But if women are masculine, ooh, that's a problem. When men are feminine, you get the opposite. Their life sucks. Okay? It might look from the outside like they're happy and everything's wonderful. No, they get a lot of problems and they exponentially grow over time. So we gotta understand those different definitions. Masculinity, responsibility, consistency, the ability to control one's thoughts, one's emotions, and one's behaviors. That's what masculinity is able to do. And they can suppress emotions and thoughts and behaviors as long as they vent it to someone that they know and trust, etc., etc. They don't have to express their emotions and vent, right? So masculinity, when a man is truly masculine, he never ever gets angry. For example, he never ever uses stimulants. Why would he do that if he's able to control his thoughts? If he can control his thoughts, there's nothing that he needs to drown out with stimulants. Because he loves his life. He's figured out how to control his thoughts and his emotions and behaviors. So life is wonderful for the masculine man. That's why you can know for a fact that anyone that you meet who has problems with substances, who drinks, who smokes, who uses drugs, who has casual sexual relationships, you can know for a fact that that guy's feminine. Because he needs instant gratification. He needs life. He needs something because his emotional needs are not being met. A masculine man, his emotions will be those needs are being fulfilled as we speak because he's masculine and everything just simply works in his life. Okay, I'm really going deep into the definitions, but if you understand how all of this works, then the rest of the video just simply makes sense. Okay, so what is femininity? Femininity is the absence or the absolving of responsibilities, not wanting much responsibilities because it's not yours, okay? So the more feminine you are, the more you want to give away responsibility and delegate, and preferably you'd want a man to fix all of your problems. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Right? Femininity does not want tons of responsibility. Because the more responsibility she has, the more she will be burdened, okay? So if we understand now, masculinity is responsibility, it is a burden, right? He has to do certain things because he's responsible. He wants to have power, well then he needs to do this and this and this and this, right? It's a burden. Femininity, on the other hand, is being unburdened. Okay, not having any responsibilities that she has to worry about that she wouldn't do naturally anyway. Not having to massively control one's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors because you don't have anything that's bad inside. Do you understand what I mean? Masculinity for women is darkness. It's having secrets. It's not being able to get their emotional expression out, right? And so if you understand these two now, masculinity is burdened, femininity is unburdened, and living stress-free, carefree, and being able to care for other people because you don't have that much other cares. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we know these definitions, let's move on. Out of these two, when men are masculine, they have a lot of capacity. Why? Because when they get a problem, they take care of the problem, right? So I say on my other channel, the Men of High Value channel, I divide men into two different compartments. I say the problem stackers and the problem solvers, okay, when I talk to them. And the problem stackers, they basically stack problems on top of each other, and eventually it becomes too much and they're not able to handle it, and they get mental issues, emotional issues, and they become feminine because they can't solve their problems. A masculine guy he'll be fired up about problems because he solves them. And when he solves them, he makes more money. And then so he gets a problem, solves it, gets a problem, solves it. And so because of that, he is in many ways burdened according to his capacity. And if he wants to increase his capacity, just like he goes to the gym in order to lift weights, then he'll take on more problems, but he'll do that gradually over time and increase his strength and capabilities and power, right? That's good. So if we know that, then basically a man who's masculine will always have more capacity than a man who's feminine. A man with power has the ability to do. If he has the ability to do, he's got capacity. Does that make sense? If he's feminine, he's stacking problems, then eventually he'll have no capacity, doesn't want responsibility, and that's why he's feminine. On the other hand, women, let's talk about that for a second when it comes to capacity. Guess what? The more masculine a woman becomes, the more burdened she is. So she's going to be stacking problems, right? So she'll be a problem stacker because she can't solve all of her problems all of the time. The reason why is because she cares. Women have been blessed and somewhat cursed, okay, but for a reason. This is a perfect design, by the way. This is not a mistake. Women were blessed with the ability to care, but that comes with the inability to not care. Okay, so women have this aspect of burden stacking on top of each other because they care about everything. Everyone else's problem is my problem. So they personalize things naturally. Men don't do that. Men are selfish. They don't care about other people. The only reason why men care about other people is if there's a win-win situation. So if I help this person out, you're telling me that I can get this? That's pretty cool. I like that. Let's do that. Win-win situation. Women, however, they look at other people's needs and then they're like, but we need to help them. We need to help them and we need to help them. And over time, this is problem stacking. That's an issue, right? Because eventually you have too many problems, you can't solve them anymore, and you become burdened. What happens when you become burdened? You now enter into survival mode, right? Just like men are feminine, they enter into survival mode. When they're masculine, they're in growth mode. Femininity, when they're masculine, right? They enter into survival mode. So the more feminine you are as a woman, the more you enter into growth mode, okay? So you're stacking problems as a masculine woman, your health becomes worse, you don't have capacity, right, for taking care of your health, you don't have capacity for taking care of your relationships, you don't have capacity for this, for your kids, eventually you begin to neglect. But it's not because you don't care, it's because you care that you are not capable of taking care of everyone. It's impossible. Men, they prioritize and they easily neglect. They compartmentalize everything that's happening in their lives. And like I said in the beginning, they take responsibility for every problem in the world, but then they take care of them one by one instead of saying, oh my gosh, I have so many problems to solve. They just neglect everything and choose the most important priority. That's what men do. Women, not so much. You care about everything as if it's in your environment. Okay? So it's wise to not take on too many problems because you'll be stacking problems. However, if you're feminine, you're unburdened. You're stress-free, carefree, everything's wonderful, I'm happy, blah, 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 blah. The thing that happens then, why are you stress-free? Why are you carefree? Why are you unburdened? It is because you are being provided for and you are being protected by your man of high value, but also women around you. Strength in numbers so that you don't get rejected, so that you don't so you're not put out of play in your life, right? And I'll move on to the next aspect now, but I just want you to understand the aspect of capacity. If you're unburdened, You'll have capacity to care about the people that you truly care about. Not every problem in the world, but the ones that you really want to prioritize, right? Because they're in your vicinity. You personalize their problems. And when you personalize their problems, then you see their needs and then you begin to fulfill them. You're more able to fulfill karma, right? And receive good things back by you doing good deeds when you're feminine than when you're masculine. When you're masculine, you don't have capacity because you're up to the brim. You can't do anymore. And so karma works the opposite way when that happens. Very often bad things happen to those that are in survival mode, but good things happen to those that are in growth mode. So we got to get you to femininity as fast as possible, right? Okay, now we're getting to it. Why are women bitches to each other? Okay, there's two grand pillars of female nature. Okay, I say three sometimes. I'm still developing these concepts. You're so blessed to be part of this beginning part of this journey. I know all these things, but like to explain it to someone so that they understand it, it just requires a little bit more, and I'm getting there. But there's three. You've got security, you've got equality, and you've got emotional expression, okay, on the spectrum of emotions. Okay, so this one I'm trying to figure out stuff. But security and equality for sure. Okay, now how does this work? Well, basically, women are social creatures, they're environmental creatures, and they want security that they will be provided for and that they will be protected by the group. So, they don't want to ever be left behind. This is crucial. If a woman is rejected, she's obviously being left behind, right? She's rejected by a group. Oh my gosh, I'm rejected, right? She doesn't think that way. She only thinks, how can I get back to the group as fast as possible? Now, if she's dumped by a guy, then it's different. Then it's like, oh, he dumped me. How can I get back together with him as fast as possible? Because the people that reject her basically become high value because it's supply and demand, right? If the supply is taken away, then the value of it increases. And a woman desires to be with that which has value because she doesn't want to be left behind and be left with low value, right? She wants to make sure that she's protected and provided for so that she can be unburdened. Not being part of the group or not being part of the boy's life is a burden for her, right? It wasn't a burden when she was happy in the group or in that relationship. Maybe it was, but it became more of a burden once she became ostracized or kicked out of that group or out of that friendship. Okay? So, she wants security, that everything's wonderful, that she's accepted, that etc. And she wants equality. Why? Because if she's rejected, she's unequal now to the group or to the person or to the relationship. She doesn't like being unequal, right? So she wants to get equality back as fast as possible. And this is where the problems happen. Okay. So if a woman is feminine, what's going to happen? Well, if she's unburdened, she's obviously still part of the group. She has not been rejected. She's happy. She's being provided for. She's being protected so that no one rejects her at all times because there's strength in numbers in the group. Or maybe the man protects her so that her environment is always a good environment. If that happens, then she's always happy. Then she'll always, okay? She obviously has her cycle and PMS and period and all that stuff, okay? So there's obviously going to be emotions, small emotions up and down, but instead of being, on the happiness curve, 1 and then 7 and then 2 and then up and down, it'll be like 10 and 8 and then 9 and 10, 9, 10, 10. Do you understand? That's where we want your happiness to be at all times as a woman. But do you understand how if you're part of the group, you're unburdened and everything's wonderful, how will equality work? Well, equality will be that you want others to get to where you are because you love people. You want them to be happy as well, right? Company loves company. And so if you're happy, then you want everyone to be happy, right? If you're unhappy though, hurt people hurt people. Okay, so then we come to the other side of the spectrum. If you're burdened, and you get rejected by someone. You become masculine and you adapt masculine features or desires. This is based on your hormones, believe it or not, right? The more testosterone you're building in your body, the less estrogen is going to be able to compete with that, because testosterone crushes estrogen. So you're not going to have much estrogen going on, which means I wrote up a short list of things that are kind of masculine features in terms of desires. Masculinity is competition, right? Masculinity is property, ownership. Masculinity is power, right? Masculinity is wanting to win at all costs, okay? And if you compare that to femininity, you'll realize that femininity is based upon something completely different. It is based on sharing. It is based on everyone winning together as a team. It is based on not winning, but caring for everyone, making sure that everyone is happy and everyone is cared for. That's a bit different, isn't it? So when a masculine woman is being rejected, she will want to get equality. In the sense, she'll want to get justice for having been rejected. One, she wants to get back in the group, but if she doesn't like those people and she doesn't really want to be part of the group anymore, she will escalate the situation in order for her to feel that she is the one who's winning. She's the one who has the power. She's the one who's competing now, and she's better. She has a higher status and a higher value than the people that have rejected her. Does that make sense? So, if she's in a friendship, and they're texting each other, and then suddenly she becomes offended by what the other woman says, then that woman, okay, what's going to happen? Well, she's going to be, maybe she didn't even know that she offended the person. But the one that got offended, she's going to want to win. She's going to want the power back. She's like, why did she say that to me? That's rude. And so she now does something back that she knows will tear the other person down. So now suddenly you've got an escalation of emotion. It's not about, maybe I misunderstood, trying to rationally understand what's going on. Very often emotions are going to take over. This is something that I needed to say in the beginning that I forgot to say, but the things that I'm sharing with you right now, you will rationally understand it as I'm telling you, but when you're in it, you'll forget all about it because your emotions always trump your rational brain. It crushes it. Your intense emotions will always win. So it's not going to help that I teach you about the rationality behind female science, the science behind what's going on, but I'm sharing it with you so that you are aware and that you begin to observe other people when you're not objectively. Like when you're objectively looking from the outside of a relationship, you see other people, then you can remember that, oh yeah, that's right. They're just simply trying to get justice. They're two burdened women trying to, see who has the most power and then basically trying to reject each other the most, right? Which is ridiculous. Because the best thing would have been if one person had taken the blame, right? And saying, oh, sorry, it's my fault. Maybe I misunderstood. I know you didn't want to hurt me. Blah, 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 blah. Obviously, and they become friends again. That's a struggle. If they're feminine, they're going to be able to do that. If they're masculine and burdened, have too much scares and stress and issues in their lives, they're not going to be able to do that. Okay, so it's good to understand on like how far on the scale are you from a masculine side. The more masculine you are in terms of burden, then the less you'll be able to control yourself when you're in relationships with other people. You're just going to want to vent on them and throw the trash on them, basically. The more feminine you are, the more you're actually able to control yourself, and it basically makes it look as though, wow, these women are so unburdened. Maybe they're kind of like guys and they can do exactly the same thing as guys and not care as well. No, not really. It doesn't work like that. So basically, going back now and explaining the escalation part between those two masculine women, she's gonna offend the other one, and then the other one who didn't really know that she offended the other person, but she's like, why is this person offending me? I don't get it. And obviously the person doesn't tell the other person why, right, very often. And so she's like, why are you offending me? This is blah, blah, blah. And then she now wants to reject the other person because she wants to win. And then they escalate, and eventually they're like, that's it, bye, or whatever it is that they do, right? In such a way that they're now upset with each other. They're not communicating anymore, but they're communicating in their brains. They're like, oh, I'm so pissed. And they're like, and it's like so unnecessary. But it's their emotions. And that's just how it works, okay? So how can we solve this? Because this happens again and again and again. And it's something that's going to continue forever if you're a masculine woman. It's impossible to change this if you're masculine. So the road to get, the way to get back, the road to get back is femininity. To become unburdened again. To relieve yourself of responsibilities as much as possible, right? While still having a life. But making it so that you are as unburdened as possible and create an environment, and that's going to be tricky if you're by yourself, but create an environment where it's difficult to reject you. Okay? Because if you are never rejected and you're always accepted and you have strength in numbers, for example, with other women, or you have the aspect of a protected environment because you have an amazing man who can luxuriously provide for you, and that's why he's able to protect you so that you're in the environment of skilled people, right? The poorer you are in life, and the poorer your man is in life, the more rude people you're going to be around, okay? Because, unfortunately, poor people have a lot more problems than rich people. Duh, right? Well, they have different kinds of problems. Rich people have problems too. But you gotta understand that poor people have a lot more problems. They're in survival mode. Rich people are very often in growth mode, right? So if you are participating in an environment where people are poor, then you're gonna be rejected a lot more than people that are rich who protect their environment. There's a lot of rich people that don't protect their environment. There's a lot of rich women that don't protect their environment and who often seek out rejection, which is ridiculous because they're just making their lives more miserable. But if they create an environment where they don't get rejected or they have strength in numbers with other women, it's a completely different scenario. But if you're by yourself as a woman and you're in a poor environment with people that have bad people skills, you better believe you're going to be rejected for the rest of your life unless something changes. And what I recommend is, of course, getting a man of high value, sticking with this channel, understanding more about how female nature works so that you can have bliss, so that you can have happiness, so that you can have relationships function in your life. I tried to keep it simple today. I hope you got tons of information out of it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like this video. Comment down below if you've got questions or opinions or stories, because I love case studies of this happened then. Can you explain why this and that and the other? Because it gives me, suggestions for videos, and I always need that. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.